What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Scythe, and we are back games more Trove, and today we're gonna be doing that one requested video. I mean, there's quite a few requested videos, but today we're gonna be talking about all of the mods that I'm currently using. So the funny thing is, I already did a video of this somewhere around the end of 2018, and then afterwards, like it was somewhere around the time that U10 ended up coming out, right? And now we've actually gotten updates for U10, and because of it, you know, I ended up actually changing my mods up quite a bit. Now, first and foremost, one of the ones that is not going to end up being in our list today, just because it doesn't show up in game, is there's a brighter geode surface or something. I'm not exactly sure which one it's called, but I've got a mod that changes the geode surface. There's actually quite a few different versions of this mod that change things up. I like this one the best because it changes it kind of to a nice dark purple. You can even see change the smoke video effects and particles, like the dust is actually all purple, and it actually makes this game, like, this area looks beautiful now, kind of. Unfortunately though, you see how all of these things are all red? Yeah, there apparently is no way that the modder was able to change any of those things, which is unfortunate. That's why he's got a couple different versions of the mod that quite literally just change it to like a darker red, or like just a different kind of greenish, or, you know, things that are more in theme rather than what you see before you right here. But it begs the question, why did the devs think that this disgusting bright red was a good idea for the end game biome? Good idea for any biome, especially when those right there, that's supposed to be a tentacle. Every other instance where there's a tentacle in this game, it's green. Why would it suddenly just swap to being red? It doesn't make any sense, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So let's go through the mod list, shall we? So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have a link to all of these mods, just because there's quite a few of them, and then most of them are going to be on Steam Workshop, while a lot of them are also on Trove, Trovesaurus. I use Trove tools because I don't actually launch Steam. I don't launch Trove through Steam. I use the Glyph launcher from the Trove website. So you can search up all of these mods. That's pretty much how you're gonna have to do it. Sorry about that one, guys. But this is just going to be better damage numbers. There's varying versions of this, but this one quite literally just puts the little decimal point between the thousands, so it's very useful. Boss health bar, pretty standard at this point. Everybody kind of knows what this is. Puts a boss health bar on the Shadow Tower bosses and stuff, as well as team DPS, average TPS, and your time in general. Most of those stats I just honestly ignore. I just like having the boss health bar. And then there's the clean dot crosshair. So this one is not, like, the original author was Kiwi, and I don't remember who, but somebody in my Discord found out that this mod was actually, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not on the website. So what they did was they just took the mod from my files and then they re-uploaded it. So that's where you see this little dot reticle in front of our screen, which I could never go back to the normal Trove crosshair. Like, that Trove crosshair never made sense to me. So that's why I always just swap to this dot one, because it's like, seriously, this game is not like a third-person shooter, even though some of the classes kind of are, right? So then this is the, a lot of you guys have been asking lately in the D live streams, how come my character goes on fire? That's what this mod is. It just changes the video effects of, this is the martial emblem effect, and this is the arcane emblem effect. There is another mod that I want to point out that my pal Nintendo Gamer uses. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a timer for the arcane and martial, where it literally shows like a countdown timer in the middle of your screen, so you know when to recast. But generally, I just like these because I see, you know, I can very easily see when it's on and when it's off. So that's why I don't really need a mod that adds more clutter to my screen. Not to mention, that's the biggest thing, is I'm all about removing as much clutter as possible. I personally, just coming from old school Trove, I don't like that there's so many different things on our screen. Like, they slowly started adding more and more clutter to the HUD than the original version of the game. Even the inventory used to actually be a lot smaller and more compact and cool, and it just was like, whoa, why did you swap to this weird puke green? But anyways, and then this is my favorite out of the customized video effects for Shadow, Radiant, Stellar. It does affect Crystal. There is varying versions of these types of mods all over the place, but this one by Novas is the absolute best because he just does fantastic video effects. But basically, this is what gear is going to look like on the ground. It has a different sound effect as well, so you can actually listen for when crystal gear drops. And basically, the big beam of light is so that if you end up leaving a dungeon and the gear is like behind a wall or something, that beam of light is going to go through the floor, so you'll be able to just easily see if you ended up missing any pieces of gear or anything. Then there's the dungeon chest radar, which kind of operates the exact same, a nice beam of light, but it's for a dungeon chest. Not really a required mod by any means, but I like having it. Maybe 2 or 3 times it's helped me, you know, not miss a chest, but for the most part, I know what the dungeons are anyways and know where the chests are. The egg finder mod, you never really see in my videos because this is related to the geode caves, but if you're going into the caves, you have to get this mod. Basically, it's going to put a big glowing aura around all of the eggs, and on top of that, it's going to end up actually being a 3D orb. So you can actually see it from very far away. You can see it when it's around the corner of a wall and stuff like that. It's extremely useful. And that 3D orb, like this, Nova's again an absolute baller when it comes to video effects, because it is not an easy feat to end up making a 3D orb show up as video effects, like seriously. So anyways, I wanted to stress out the importance of this mod because there's another mod that we're going to talk about later that's for finding bosses that actually uses the same orb mechanic, right? So then the enhanced UI, I mean, quite literally, you can see it just makes things a little less cluttered and a little less disgusting. It's a little more compact, and also comes with the Karma Tooltip mod. So what that does is when we are opening chests, you can quite literally just look at the karma bar. Like, you hover your mouse over it, it'll say how many more you need to open in order to trigger karma. You can also choose how many boxes you want open, disable the sound effects of it and stuff like that, because if you're opening them by the hundreds or thousands, right? The better collections menu, I don't use this because usually it would end up crashing my game. Sometimes it just needed updating and stuff like that, but basically it's going to end up improving the collections menu. I couldn't get used to it for the life of me. It is good though. I'm not in the habit of using it. And then the Better Invites Pro. Now, there's a couple versions of this mod. I would still recommend that you end up just getting the normal version of it. This is actually a special version that ExoDave, shout out to ExoDave, made specifically for me because I kept yelling about needing a mod version like this. Unfortunately, the mod doesn't seem to work for me. I don't know why. I guess I could try re-downloading it and see what happens. But basically, what it's supposed to do, this specific version, there's the normal version of the mod that you can just download very easily. With this one, you have to download the file very specifically from like the Trove tools, from the Trove source site. I don't know if it's on Steam Workshop. It might be, but basically what his version for me was supposed to do is the normal version of the mod ends up making it so that it blocks all invites but automatically accepts invites from Daughter of the Moon. Now, I didn't like that, so what I wanted, and what he apparently changed it to, is that it's supposed to block all incoming invites, and anytime someone tries to invite you to Daughter of the Moon, to the altar of Daughter of the Moon, it should show up on my screen, but it doesn't automatically join. And the reason why I wanted something like this is because I like the idea of you guys being able to join me on adventures and stuff like that without having to go to Do Not Disturb because of all of the spam invites. Now, on top of it, there is also the utility of being able to buy these items and use the market in general. You're going to be able to just buy items instantly without having to confirm. There is also a superior market mod, which we'll get into a little bit later. So this is just a normal Better Invites, which I would recommend you end up getting regardless, just because you'll be able to buy all these things without having to confirm, including dragon coins, which is very, very useful if you're actually using all your qubits on that, right? So then there's easy glacial shards. I don't really farm for them, so that's why it's disabled, but self-explanatory. Easy to see biomes, another one by ExoDave. He's another fantastic modder, and he does all these UI changes and changes just to the environment and kind of make the game look better or make it like increased frame rate and stuff like that. You guys should already have seen his name because he does a lot of great mods. But basically what this one's going to do is just make the biomes a little bit easier to see. It removes the fog in the distance and stuff like that, which can arguably make the game look uglier. But personally, I like having the draw distance rather than having it hidden because, you know, it's all about efficiency for me, and I want to be able to see where I'm going and see the dungeons I'm going for. Then there's the ExoDave mod loader, which quite literally is just what we're using right here. That ends up making things a little bit more optimized as far as you know, just how the mod loader looks. And then lots of you guys have been asking me about this one, the small map. So quite literally, you guys know what the normal map is. Here's the small map. shows up on the top left so it doesn't block your screen. You know, it works the same as the other map. It just gets rid of all the clutter around it, as well as what all of the different icons mean, because honestly, this game's not that complex. I still wish that there was a way, as far as I've heard from modders, it's impossible. I wish there was a way to take this map, make it a little bit smaller, throw it into the top left, and have it permanently available. That would be awesome. I don't know how they would do something like that, but this game desperately needs a mini-map, like way more than it needs a compass. Like when they added the compass, that was one of the stupidest updates in my opinion, because it was like, this game is not that complex. We do not need a compass. Just give me a mini-map that's popped up all the time, you know? So this is going to end up being the video effects crown that you see me rocking recently. I really like this one because it's 3D and the fire video effects are really dope. The mod itself, this is extremely old. I remember seeing this a long time ago, but I only recently just actually installed it. I personally think that this should be either something that would be dev exclusive or content creator exclusive. Some type of exclusivity to this actually being in game. I think it would be great to have you know, an aura like this to kind of differentiate players from one another, so that everybody knows, like, whoa, that guy's, you know, that guy's a content creator. He creates videos for this game, or even just for a developer. But even then, you know, the developers already have the green names in game, so they don't really need it, and they don't really play this game anymore. The invisible knight, self-explanatory. It's so that you can make your knight go invisible with his main costume, so that you can take screenshots. Item per hour tracker is quite literally an item per hour tracker, so you can see as you end up gathering more glim over time. He's gotten 4 totals, so it moves up from 477 of this item per hour. Now suddenly it's 1230, just because he gathered 4 within an hour. So it's kind of like a way that the game, this mod will keep track of your drop chances and stuff like that, which arguably doesn't work for certain items just because this game is super duper random. But it's a very helpful mod, and most of all very useful because of the little tooltip icons and stuff like that. It's really nice. Karma tooltip, this is a separate mod that I don't use because the enhanced UI already adds it, but I also think that this is dated if I'm not mistaken, so I don't think that this one works. But you know, if you don't like the new UI, you can just get the Karma tooltip, which is going to be easier unboxing. Kermit the Froghead, no preview unfortunately. The only reason I have this is because I got Merc to get it, and I just have it installed so that I can see Merc with the Kermit head. That's pretty much it. Lagless crafting, so this is a very useful one that makes it so that whenever you end up crafting things, what happens in Trove is usually it updates your entire inventory, and that's why everything ends up lagging out. So this kind of avoids that refresh, and because of it, the whole panel you know, would cause repetitive lag, and Atos ended up fixing it. It's funny that these modders have actually made the game like more playable and better than anything the developers could have ever put out, which is fine. You know, modding always ends up doing something like that, but they seriously gotta get mods on console, man. Like, it's no joke. So this is the old mini boss radar. If you don't like the one that you've seen in my videos, this is kind of just a nice easy one where a beam of light is going to end up slowly ascending up from a boss. Now the disadvantage of this is that because it slowly ascends up, it means that you can sometimes end up missing a boss because you might run past them before their beam actually gets high enough that you can actually see it. Now that said, this is going to be a lot more visually appealing than the orb boss finder. Now this is the big one that everyone's always asking me about because it's probably one of the most useful you know, mods in the entire game. Mr. Because the baller was hanging out in one of my streams, and I was posing the question, like, why doesn't somebody take the orb video effects from the geode caves and apply it to the bosses so that it could end up pulsating out and show us where bosses are in a 3D perspective rather than just a straight beam out of them, especially because in the geode surface, a lot of 5-star dungeons, it's really difficult to see where the bosses are because for some reason the devs decided to design those dungeons just, it's trash, man. They're so bad. But with this mod, it makes it a little bit more standable, where you can often see the orb come just out of the corner of one of the walls, so you know, okay, I gotta blast my way through this wall, that's where the boss is. But on top of it, it also takes another mini boss radar mod, where rather than a beam of light slowly going out of them, it's just video effects that's static. So as soon as the boss entity actually spawns on your screen because you're close enough to it, bam, that video effects is going to go straight to the skies, and you're going to be able to see it right then and there. Now the other thing too that Mr. Because did, he ended up going the extra mile, and he color coded a lot of this as well. So We've got, if you ever see blue, that means that it's just an elite, you know, just a big boss enemy. Red ones means it's a cursed skull. If I'm not mistaken, purple means that it's an enemy that generates clones. I think the reason for this was because there was an adventurine farming method that you could end up using for this, which is arguably useless now and has been patched, and in a lot of ways it's considered an exploit, so people just don't do it anymore. But either way, I'm just saying that there are different color variations. I don't know what all of them are, but they're there. Quest rings, this is just visual. It just, you know, I just like having this because I feel that it just looks cool. It quite literally, when you activate a cursed skull, it's just gonna kind of create a big disco dome around you, so you'll be able to know, the big reason I like it is because you'll be able to know where the outside of the ring is as far as the vertical. But then on top of that, again, similarly to the orb boss finder, you can actually see this through floors. So if there is somebody activating a cursed skull that's a floor below you, you might see the video effects coming through the floor, which, you know, you don't really need it just because we've got this other mod already doing it. Anyway, quick class UI. You have to get this one because swapping classes just sucks in this game, vanilla. But it just, self-explanatory, it just makes it a whole lot cleaner, a whole lot easier. Then there's the super hot bar, which this is another one that's absolutely mandatory, most of all because it actually shows cooldown for all of your things. So I'll actually pop a flask right here. Did it? Oh, okay, it doesn't, it's not showing the flask, I don't know why, but it shows for our abilities. I know there's like another mod that shows our flasks or something. Oh no, that's right, it's because we don't get a cooldown for these flasks. I'm a scrub. Jeez Louise. But it also shows the amount of energy that you have, all of your abilities and stuff, and on certain characters too, it will actually show, you can see we got gold around our charge ability. That's from our, you know, class gem ability, right? So then there's the superior loot collector. There's a couple versions of this, but this is the one that if your end game is just invaluable, this is the best. So what this does is, it says right here, this loot collector a mod unlocks all stellar gear pieces and crystal level 1 gear pieces all the time. You cannot manually lock these items. So you are going to automatically, you go up to the loot collector, you can just click collect all, and it's gonna loot collect everything except for stellar gems, Crystal 2 and Crystal 3, as well as a bunch of other just normal miscellaneous items are going to default as locked. This is mostly, you know, aimed towards gear because it just makes grinding so much faster, because you guys, you know, you guys already probably know the qualms at this point of having to go through all your gear, manually uncheck them all so that you can end up loot collecting all of them. Like, seriously, this should be a vanilla option in the game. Then there's also the superior marketplace. This is another one where you can just buy and sell stuff like without having to confirm it. It also just has a collect all function, and it's generally just going to end up being very useful for the market. Tome reminder, this one's more funny as well as useful, because what this is going to do is it just quite literally has the rampage video effect show up in the middle of your screen to tell you that your tome is done. It's a little overbearing sometimes, but honestly, I would, you know, with this, you'll never miss a tome, because otherwise missing tomes is just like so easy to do and so common. Now, one last thing, this is not a mod, but I did want to actually point this out because I think that it's important. If you actually go into your settings in your miscellaneous tab, you can choose the minimum rarity of loot that you can end up collecting. So if you end up holding the button that collects all the gear around you, or that picks up items, I mean, then you'll pull all of the gear that's around you, right? So on PC, you hold E. On console, I forget what the button is, but either way, you run into a pile of gear, you hold the pickup button, and it picks up all the items around you. Lots of players don't know about this, but on top of it, you can actually use this option to choose which items and rarities you'll end up picking up. So that's why you'll see in my videos, I pick up shadow items and up. I won't, like, even if I'm holding E, it won't pick up like normal legendary items and stuff like that. You can just manually go up to the item and pick them up one at a time, regardless of the rarity selection that you have. But I just thought that that was important enough to end up mentioning in closing. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget to like, sub, hit that notification bell. And if you found this video helpful and you want to go the extra mile, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel with that join button down below. Buy some, wait a minute. I was going to say buy some of the merch, but I'm not actually wearing any of the merch right now. Haha! And then also, if you want to donate for free, you can always check out the link down below to Gawkbox, which, you know, is a good way that you can end up playing phone games for a few minutes. Or you could follow me on DLive, which is another way you can end up donating for free. I've got another video explaining how that all works. Thanks for watching, though, Sanoa, and stay epic.